Hello friends, welcome to Huawei's. Welcome to the mains test series discussion. We are discussing mains test 5 and this is part 4 where we will discuss from question number 16 to question number 20. So let us quickly begin. The 16th question, if you see, this is on the design linked incentive scheme. This design linked incentives, this scheme was announced by MeitY, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. So this basically is for the promotion of electronic industry at large, the semiconductor designs and all, the semiconductor industry in fact. This is to offset the disabilities in domestic industry and promote more and more manufacturing industries which can help in the overall contribution to the economy as well as it will create more jobs. Especially the semiconductor industry is an industry where there is a huge potential for India because we are a huge electronic consuming economy. So if we can bring in these kind of industries, if we can tap in this opportunity, this will be a huge boost for the overall development of Indian industry at large. So this, if you see this is basically to bring in industries, strengthen the semiconductor design ecosystem in the country, because if you want to bring in an industry, you have to bring in the entire ecosystem. So this starts from design to distribution, design to manufacturing to distribution. That means the infrastructure has to be good, the design implementation has to be there, or the design formation has to be there, the R&D has to be there. Like it is a mix of everything, in fact, you can say. And financial incentives are offered, design infrastructure support across various stages of development and deployment of the semiconductor designs for these integrated circuits, chipsets, the system on chips, the systems and IP cores, and the semiconductor linked design. And all this is there for a period of over 5 years. Now we will see why it is important for the semiconductor manufacturing industry in India to thrive. The first important thing for it to become better is promotion of R&D, because under the rising development cost and fulfilling the needs of design, it requires about 12 to 20% of the company's sales. So that means huge investment has to be there. So the government also has to support in it. So promotion of R&D is the key for the development of manufacturing industry at large. And also the promotion of the semiconductor industry with these kind of schemes will help create a vibrant semiconductor ecosystem, and this will help in developing complex chips, and it will also help in creation of more intellectual properties, and this overall the entire system or the entire manufacturing process will be developed. India aims to set up a India Chip Center to host state-of-the-art design infrastructure and facilities so that it can be accessed and support, and also the companies can support it, and also they can also use these facilities. And the financial support for setting up of semiconductor plants in India is also there. Under this, there is 50% of reimbursement of the eligible expenditure, but there is a cap also of 15 crore per application. And basically all these things are done to attract the existing global players, because if you see, there are a lot of companies in Taiwan that are huge and have great capability, and they can help us to build the system overall. Okay, and also we can increase the capacity of the semiconductor sector. This will spur in the demand for other sectors like transportation, energy, agri sector, etc. That's why manufacturing sector, if you see, if this sector develops, lot of sectors will get benefited from this. This will have a spillover effect on all the other industries. It would contribute in creating of a 1 trillion digital economy and multiplier effect to achieve 5 trillion economy by 2025. If the challenges like rapid changes in technology, high competition, if they are met. And also there is a need to improve research, supply chain, patent ecosystem, etc. to realize true potential of this entire scheme. Okay, so this is about this semiconductor design scheme. Next, the 17th question is on the PM Jan Dhan Yojana. So the National Mission on Financial Inclusion, which is an integrated approach of comprehensive financial inclusion of all households in the country, it envisages universal access to banking facilities. The PM Jan Dhan Yojana is to ensure that people gets included. The poor people, they come into the ambit of formal financial system. The role of PM Jan Dhan Yojana is financial inclusion in India. So under this, if you see, it brought the unbanked people into the banking system. The financial inclusion is done for every adult. 55% of the Jandan account holders are women, and 67% of the Jandan account holders are in rural areas and semi-urban areas. So that means a lot of people who don't have access to the banking facilities, they are brought into the banking system. And we have seen during the COVID time how the government was able to use all these accounts for the direct benefit transfer to give them the support that they require for their survival. The PM Kisan, the Manrega, okay, and all the other insurance also, it is also provided through these accounts only. Under the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, 30,945 crores were credited into the accounts of women which come under this PM Jandan Yojana during this lockdown especially. It provides avenue to the poor for bringing their savings into formal financial system. So during the COVID-19 times, so it provided for financial security to the vulnerable sections of society. The direct benefit transfers via PM Jandan accounts ensured every rupee reaches its intended beneficiary and it prevent systematic leakage. 5.1 crore PM Jandan Yojana account holders receive DBT from government under various schemes, and because of PM Jandan Yojana, the percentage of total DBT failures has decreased from 13.5% to 5.7% because the government has a clear picture about the accounts and about all the transfers, and so that means the entire chain is controlled by the government directly. So everything is in their control and things are processed easily and efficiencies are increased in the system. The leakages are also stopped. And now there is a need to move from financial inclusion to financial empowerment by providing credit as well, because if you see, still the informal money lenders are playing a huge role in the credit market. So this has to be changed, and also the people has to get credit. They have to get the credit from this kind of formal banking system itself. So the PM Jandan Yojana should become PM Jandan Vriddhi Yojana with the universal access to banking credit to the most underprivileged sections of the society. That means to the poor and vulnerable sections, especially like women and all. Right. So the next question is on the human capital, the 18th question. So human capital, if you see, it is the economic value of a worker's experience and skills and includes assets like education, training, intelligence, health, loyalty and punctuality. See, these kind of definitions are very important because in the prelims we will see these kind of definitions. Generally these things sometimes we will not read while reading our prelims material, but we will find these things in the mains, and the prelims MCQs are based on these kind of concepts. If you just go through the last couple of year papers, you will find these kind of questions. So what are the sources of human capital? There are various sources. First is education. That is the primary and the best thing to increase the income of anyone. So this is the first important source of human capital. This will increase the knowledge. This will increase the capacity of the humans. Next is health, because health is something that will determine the amount of work that a person can do, that will determine the amount of time that a person can spend qualitatively and productively. So health is something that is very important for everyone. So this is also one of the important source for the human capital formation. And also a lot of companies will spend on the training of the employees. That also comes under this. The migration, like the cost of transport, higher cost of living in the migrated places, the psychic cost of living in the strange socio-cultural setup, all these things, they also come under the sources. And also the information to make decisions regarding investments in human capital, effective utilization of acquired human capital stock, all these things. The expenditure incurred for information with respect to labor market and other markets is also the source of human capital formation. All these things are the various sources of human capital formation. And the human capital and economic growth, if you see, human capital directly leads to economic growth. The education and health, in fact, it will lead to better job creation. It will lead to better capacity of the humans to productively work in an environment, right? And also the human capital, if you see, it increases the labor productivity, stimulates innovation, creates ability to absorb new technology. So that means overall the productivity of the labor gets increased. So when the productivity increases, the output increases. When the output increases, the profits increases. That means the income of the people also gradually increase. The increased rate of participation of the people in the economy also increases, and also the gap between the poor and the rich will reduce. That means the inequalities existing in the society reduces. This will also help in improving the quality of life of the people. But while human capital in developing countries has been seeing a faster growth, but the growth of per capita real income has not been that fast. So that means there is literally we are seeing the human capital is growing, but we are still seeing the inequality in the economic and financial sense. That is what it is said. Okay. Next, the 19th question, if you see, this is on cropping pattern and cropping system. Cropping pattern, if you see, cropping pattern is the proportion of area under different crops at any time in a unit area. But cropping system, if you see, it includes sum total of all crops and the practices used to grow these crops on the field or farm. It comprises of all components like water, soil, technology, etc. required for the production of a particular crop and interrelationship between them. That means cropping pattern means it focuses only on the crops that are grown in a particular year in a particular space. But cropping system includes what is the water that is used, how it is used, how the irrigation is done, like all the things are included in this. So cropping pattern in fact is a part of cropping system only. Cropping system is a whole umbrella thing. The cropping pattern, if you see, it includes crop rotation practiced by a majority of farmers in a locality, and cropping system includes cropping pattern and its management to derive benefits from a given resource base under the specific environmental condition. The type of management of crops through temporal arrangement, that is in a year in a sequence of growing different crops on a piece of land. Also, the management is done through spatial arrangement, that is arrangement of crops on a piece of land in various patterns. Cropping system, if you see, the cropping patterns used on a farm and their interaction with the farm resources, other farm enterprises and available technology which determine their makeup. That is about the cropping system. And the types of cropping systems practiced in India, if you see, the monocropping, that means only one crop is grown on a piece of land in a year. Okay, and this may be due to climatic or socio-economic conditions. Example, groundnut, cotton, sorghum, they are grown year after year due to limitation of rainfall. So that means 1 year a single crop is grown. Let's say first year cotton is grown, second year groundnut will be grown. Okay, something like this. But a single crop will be grown on that land for that year. That is monocropping. Next, multiple cropping. So this is where two or more crops are grown in the same field within a year, and this includes mixed cropping, intercropping and sequence cropping. Mixed cropping means two or more crops in the same field in a year without a definitive row or arrangement. Sorghum, PM millet are the examples. So that means randomly the crops are grown in a year in a field. So you can find the different types of crops. That is called mixed cropping. Next, intercropping, where two or more crops are simultaneously grown in a different row arrangement in the same field with the objective of higher productivity per unit area in addition to stability in production. Example, maize plus green gram. That means you can see the growth or the plants are grown in rows like this, specific rows. Specific arrangement is there. Next, the sequence cropping. Sequence cropping is where two or more crops are grown in sequence on the same year on the same land in a year. The succeeding crop is planted after the preceding crop is harvested. That means for 2 months a crop is grown. After 2 months the next crop is grown, like that. That means sequentially. The first crop is grown, harvested, and then the second crops come into picture. So that means on the land single crop is grown at one time, but this time is different. That means for a specific period of time. That means in a year on the same piece of land 2-3 crops are grown, but at different point of time. So that means all are not grown simultaneously. So if you see, there are other types of cropping like the alley cropping. Alley cropping means the planting rows of trees at wide space with a companion crop grown in alleys between the rows, and the trees may include hardwood veneer and the lumber species, the fruit, nuts, etc. Next is relay cropping. So growing two or more crops simultaneously during the part of life cycle of each. Example, in India, rice, cauliflower, onion, summer cod. That is relay cropping. Next, ratoon cropping, where the crop regrows out of the roots or stalks which were left after the harvest of the earlier crop. Besides sugarcane, It also practiced with some commercial crops like banana, cotton, etc. Okay, so this is about the cropping. Next, the 20th question is on the impact of climate change on agriculture. This question is very important even for your mains this year. This question was not asked, so it becomes very important for us. So agriculture, if you see, it contributes about 15% to Indian GDP. More than 50% are still dependent on agriculture, so it is an important area. And because of climate change, if there is one sector that affects very much, so that sector is agriculture only. Agriculture impacts too much because of the climate change, because about 55% of the land is only irrigated, the rest of the land is dependent on agriculture only, dependent on rainfall only for irrigation. So that's why the changes in the climate will directly impact the agriculture at large. So if you see the impact of this climate change on Indian agriculture, so according to the National Innovation and Climate Resilient Agriculture, there is decrease in productivity due to climate change, and there will be decrease in the overall production of rice, wheat, maize, etc., and their yields will reduce. There is unpredictable change in the pests and diseases, their load will increase. So recently we have seen this attack of locust on these crops and plants. So similarly, these kind of things we will be seeing. And also the increased frequency and intensity of extreme weather events like the droughts, cyclones, floods, already we are seeing this. The crops, when get exposed to high temperatures, are subject to high transpiration losses. That means they will require more water, and also they will face this heat stress. This heat stress will kill them. In fact, sometimes there is rise in productivity of few crops. This is also seen like chickpea, soybean, the gram, potato, etc. due to high level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, because the plants use carbon dioxide for their survival. And there are various government initiatives to combat the effects of climate change on agriculture. The ICAR initiated National Innovation in Climate Resilient Agriculture to provide strategic research on adaptation and mitigation, demonstrating with demonstration of technology on farmers' fields and creating awareness among the farmers and other stakeholders, and to minimize impact of the global warming on agriculture. And also this National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture. Under this mission, the National Action Plan on Climate Change aims to evolve and implement strategies to make Indian agriculture more resilient to the climate change. The National Food Security Mission, if you see, this was implemented in identified districts for increasing the food grain production. The National Adaptation Fund, if you see, this is to support the concrete adaptation activities dealing with mitigation of adverse effect on agriculture. And there are other measures like Green India Mission, National Water Mission, etc. that have been taken. Okay. So these are the various schemes and everything that we have with regard to the climate change, the effect of climate change on agriculture, and how we can reduce the impact and increase the resilience. So reducing the vulnerability, increasing the resilience, both are equally important when we talk about the climate change, right? So these are the questions of this fifth test. We have finished the fifth test with this, right? And the summary document is being used in this lecture to explain all the content. So this will help you to revise the content in very less time. So do check the quality of these summaries in our Telegram channel. Okay. So that's it, guys, from my side. I'll see you again tomorrow with the next set of questions from the test 6. Till then, keep studying and stay tuned. Jai Hind.